I caught up on yesterday and today's episodes of Beyond the Gates, and I want to reiterate that I really do love this show. And I'm a hard person to please. I'm very realist on this channel. When I don't like something, I will sit here and complain about it. Just did it yesterday with The Traitors, which was a bad season. I do it with Big Brother when that's bad. Don't even cover Survivor anymore because it's so cringe and bad in the newer seasons. But Beyond the Gates is hitting for me. It's just nice to see a soap actually feel modern, first of all, because none of the other remaining soap operas do. And this one is doing a good job of remaining modern in these first 2 weeks of the show. I'm going to go in the order of things that really stood out or that I really like, the stories that I like, and then I'll also try and touch upon some odds and ends over the past 2 episodes. There's kind of a lot to cover. I want to start with the Chelsea scene yesterday, which was the most intriguing thing about yesterday's episode, when it was revealed that Chelsea went home not with a guy from the bar, but a guy and his wife. She went home for a threesome. They seem to be a swinger couple. And one of the things I said in the video I made a month before Beyond the Gates debuted, there was a few things I needed to see for this show to succeed. And one of them was I wanted to see the younger characters actually be young and seem young and live their lives as young adults. And we are getting that with Chelsea. It's nice to see a soap opera character not only explore their sexuality, but just explore being sexual, period. Because we don't see that at all on General Hospital and Young and the Restless. And, you know, there's some half-assed stuff on Bold and the Beautiful, but that show is such a mess that nothing really matters. I'll give credit to Days that Days has had some stories. They've half-assed some stories with their younger characters over the past few years. So I'll give Days some credit. Beyond the Gates, doing this with Chelsea, I think is a good twist, and I am happy to see it. And I'm intrigued to see not only what happens with the story, hopefully it doesn't go too far with this actor, that's the guy, because he's not very good, but just seeing Chelsea explore that. I don't think it's a throuple. It seemed more like a threesome and they're swingers. But he seemed into her, so I don't know. Maybe it will eventually lead to a throuple storyline. Either way, it's modern and it's a younger character being young. And I really enjoyed seeing that. Next up, I have to talk about my favorite storyline, which remains the whole Eva and Leslie trying to get into Ted and Nicole's lives, and the rivalry between Kat and Eva continuing, where once again Kat caught Eva on Nicole's computer. Kat stayed behind to spy on Eva and did catch her once again. Eva's not very good at being subtle with this whole scheming that she's doing, which is why I don't actually see Eva as a villain. Her mother's the villain, and Eva's kind of innocent in this, in my opinion. Yeah, she's going along with her mother's schemes, but she just wanted a father figure. And in scenes with Ted, we keep seeing Eva soften with Ted, especially in today's episode when Ted came back to check on her because his daughter, Kat, keeps confronting Eva, and he said he keeps his promises and that he would be there for Eva if she needed him, as if she gets overwhelmed being Nicole's assistant. So they continue to play that he really could be Eva's father. It's what I want to happen because it kind of adds more layers to the Kat and Eva rivalry that has already begun. Kat in the story remains kind of insufferable to me. They continue to paint her as very judgmental, very snooty. She is definitely entitled, and even her parents keep saying that in conversations. So it's hard for me to root for Kat in this. I'm 100% on Eva's side. Despite that, though, you know, every rivalry needs a villain. And to me, despite Eva allegedly being a villain because she's scheming, I think her mother's the villain. Kat's the villain in this rivalry right now. It's because she takes all these pot shots at Eva about her style, that it comes off as like, a rich person judging someone poorer. And I'm also glad to see Chelsea call out Kat, that they use Chelsea as, despite them being close cousins, Chelsea calls Kat out on her bougie bullshit. So nice to see. The relationship between Chelsea and Kat is nice too. I don't hate Kat, but in this situation with Kat and Eva, I find it very hard to root for her. Even though she's right that Eva is scheming on the family, the way she's going about it is not making her likable. The writing has been heavy-handed to make her be very entitled these past 3 episodes. Leslie also came around to the hospital after Eva sent her a video of Ted and Nicole. She had a wig on. I didn't think that was a good enough disguise, but she spied on them, and then she went up to the roof, and she's acting like someone that wants to jump off the roof, and it's to get Nicole on the roof as the psychiatrist to try and talk her down. Leslie could be plotting something dangerous, although judging by the preview, spoiler alert, I don't think anyone's going to get pushed off the roof yet. But yeah, I love Leslie. Love when she's on. We only get small doses of Leslie, but that works for me. That's how Sheila was written back in the day at first, before she became more and more psycho. Then she got more airtime. But I think that the small scenes of Leslie work for now. I don't want them to turn Leslie too psycho for where they have to eventually write her off. But with most villains, that tends to happen eventually. But hopefully we never get enough of Leslie. She still remains my favorite, although Eva's creeping up there as well. Someone I forget to mention, and every time I record, I want to mention this character, and then I always forget. Shanice, the nurse at the hospital that just gets all the tea and wants to always gossip. By far the best side character. Very entertaining. I don't remember if it was yesterday's episode or today's, because I just watched them back to back. I think it was today's, when Kat caught Eva again, wanted to bring Nicole into the room, went looking for Nicole. Shanice was in the background enjoying the mess of Nicole berating Kat for being entitled and giving Eva too hard of a time. I'm really hoping eventually that Shanice gets her own storylines, because yeah, she's great as a gossip. It's kind of a throwback to Amy on General Hospital back in the day. But yeah, Joyce and Shanice want her to have her own stories. That brings us to, of course, Dani, Bill, Haley, Andre. Dani and Andre continue to hook up. I thought it was funny that in text messages in Friday's episode, Andre was starting to say he feels used by Dani because she keeps saying they can't do this. And then they hook up again. And it seems like Andre wants more. It's funny because Q and I were watching some episodes and trying to figure out every character's astrology sign, because that's what we do, because we're astrology nerds. We were trying to figure out Andre. And after today's episode, him acting like he's feeling used, we settled on Cancer, and I think that kind of sealed the deal. He's more emotional than he lets on. Yeah, he's a player and whatever. But he's clingy. And I think they could possibly be making him clingy and a little creepy. It was weird at the end of Thursday's episode when he went back to Dani's after crashing the double date that Ashley and Derek and Naomi and Jacob were on together. He went back to Dani's, watched her through the window dancing. Maybe Dani found it hot, but he's creepy. We saw in past episodes him taking a picture of Ashley without her knowing at the hospital. So there could be more to Andre in being creepy. So we'll see what transpires there. It makes me more intrigued with Andre, so that's a good thing. Before continuing with Dani, let's talk about the double date real quick. The writing for Ashley, still hate it. And Derek is not a good character. It could be because of the acting. I don't know. Them on the double date, Ashley just loves to talk about herself. We got so much about the elevator story and them giving birth in the elevator, and Ashley and Andre talking about that nonstop for 2 episodes. But then everybody's like, they act like Ashley gave open heart surgery in an elevator. Yeah, it's a big deal. She helped a woman give birth on an elevator, but she's a nurse. But they're acting like she's just God's gift as a nurse. It's heavy-handed with the writing for Ashley. It's not working for me. Still, the weakest link of the whole show is Ashley and Derek. And I don't think the triangle with Andre is going to work. So that's still my big negative. Haven't changed my mind on that. As for Dani, she confronted Haley once again and then had a meeting with the family to say she's finally over Bill, finally over her marriage. She's going to bury it. Only to Bill to still be obsessed with wanting revenge on Dani. And I can't blame Bill necessarily. Dani came to the wedding with a gun, could have killed him or Haley, but didn't pay for it. And I thought it was ridiculous all week that despite it being live streamed, that Dani wasn't really paying. Yeah, we saw a scene with a cop that just let her off the hook because Vernon knows the chief of police or whatever. But in the end, Jacob has to arrest Dani, his mother-in-law, and Bill seemed to have something to do with it. They also continue to paint Bill as, after having sex with Haley in Thursday's episode, he was thinking about Dani again and wanting to get revenge on Dani. It's really what really gets his rocks off is hurting Dani for whatever reason. I don't understand what happened in their marriage that made Bill this obsessed with always hurting Dani, but it does seem to be a thing. But I am glad that Dani's going to pay a little bit for what she did, but I don't want next week to be a long drawn out thing of Dani in jail and all that. But what I do like about Jacob being the one to arrest Dani is that it will give more attention to Naomi and Jacob as a couple, which is needed for a soap opera couple to be more interesting. They can't be happy all the time. We've seen them already have problems all week, though, because of Jacob feeling bad that he didn't do nothing to Dani at the wedding when she had a gun. Some of the other odds and ends. Jon Lindstrom debuted today as Joey. He is, I guess, the owner of a casino that Doug, Vanessa's husband, lost a bunch of money at. Joey paid off the debt and sees Doug as a big mark for him. He wants to basically make sure Doug is in debt to him. He paid off Doug's debt for now, but wants Doug to sink further and further in a hole because he does have a gambling problem. And while Doug continues his gambling problem, Vanessa seems to be cheating on him with the gym guy. I think his name's Diego. So we'll see if the drama between that kind of supporting characters, but they do intrigue me. So it's great to see Jon Lindstrom, of course. He and Katie McLean on the same show is interesting because they used to be married. I don't think they are anymore. We'll see what Joey's character is. I don't want him to be like this huge mob type character. We've seen enough of that in daytime that I'm tired of that. But just as another villain on the show, I think it could add a good dynamic to more stories in the future. Especially with Jacob being a cop, I see that in the long run, there's stories there that I would want to see. Also, Martin and Smitty in yesterday's episode, they continue to have problems. Martin was a cunt to Smitty about Smitty wanting to go back to work because Martin wants the family optics with his political career to make them seem like a traditional family where Martin works and Smitty's a stay-at-home dad with their teenagers. The fact that they have teenagers still irks me because they both look too young for teenagers. But I'm going with that. I've become more intrigued with them as a couple because of this whole Smitty wanting to go back to work, but Martin feeling some type of way. And Martin is just kind of an asshole, which is working for me. I can see why people hate Martin. Yeah, the actor needs to grow, and hopefully he will in due time. I do wish they would add more layers to Martin because he is coming across as one note of like, we know he has some history where he probably killed someone, and he seems kind of psycho and manipulative and gaslighting Smitty all the time. He's another type of villain on the show. This show loves their different types of villains, and I don't hate that. So I have become a little more intrigued between Martin and Smitty. It's gonna look odd seeing them with teenagers though, if we ever do, which I think we will eventually. I think that covers most of what I wanted to talk about. 2 solid episodes. Really loved it. Loved Chelsea hooking up in a threesome. Still love the rivalry between Kat and Eva, even though I'm totally Team Eva in that because Kat is a bougie bitch. And the preview for next week looks pretty fire. Leslie's going to be scheming a lot next week. And with that being my favorite story, count me in as extremely intrigued for another week of Beyond the Gates. Excited. Love having a daily soap opera again because it's been a long time since I've looked forward to a show like this as a soap opera.